You are listening to the CMC Podcast. Join us each week for messages designed to equip, inspire, and motivate. And now for today's message from Pastor Tim Brooks.
I love to see how God created us and created life to work for us. His plan, God's plan, is that we live blessed, that we live in an abundant life. Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it more abundant. God's plan is that you would prosper and be in health. God's plan is for you and I to be blessed and enjoy life. And God created ways for that to happen. God created ways and avenues for that to happen. But the problem is, too often we don't operate on the avenues, we don't operate on the principles and the promises that God has given us to produce what we're looking for in our life. God's created a way for this to take place. The title of today's message is There is Power in Momentum. There is power in momentum. Now, I've talked off and on. I've even referred to momentum in sermons that I've done. I have talked about momentum in passing because I know there's a key for us. I know momentum and the understanding of that holds a key, but I've never really done a lot of studying on this. I've been shocked at what the Bible has to say about this. How could one player, for those who watch sports, you'll relate to this. Those who don't know anything about sports, take a quick nap. I'll be back with you in just a minute. How could one player on a team hit 2 or 3 quick 3 points in a row and ignite the whole team? A guy that hadn't rebounded all game is now crashing the boards. A guy that hadn't stolen a ball has stolen it half court the last 2 times down. How does that translate? This guy hitting some points, how does that translate into these other teammates doing things that they hadn't done all game? It's called momentum. If you watch sports of any kind, you're well aware of the word momentum. You're well aware of how it empowers a team. And if you watch sports at all, you can literally see momentum come, and you can literally see momentum go. You can see it, there it went, it's gone. You know, if you follow politics, you can watch a political candidate win 2 or 3 states in a row, and all of a sudden money and TV time, and it's called momentum. And let me tell you, successful teams, successful people, successful businesses, they know how to capitalize on momentum. They know how to function within momentum. Are you clearly aware that God created that? Now think about it. Are you clearly aware? We could have been created robots that had no emotional influence on each other's lives whatsoever. Are you clearly aware that that is a created part of us? We didn't come up with momentum on our own. We didn't build that. That the ability for momentum to catapult a team, the ability of momentum in our life is a God-created thing. There is created by God power in momentum. Too many people don't know how to use it. Too many people don't know how to use momentum. Too many teams, too many businesses, they don't know how to use momentum and allow momentum to empower them into the next victory. God created momentum, and He created it to empower us. Here's the problem. We don't get it, and when we do get it, we don't use it. A crystal clear picture of this is in Exodus chapter 7 through chapter 14. familiar passage. God's people, the Hebrews, were enslaved in Egypt. God called Moses to go and deliver them. And y'all remember those several chapters in there. First of all, do you remember that Moses threw his rod down and it turned into a snake? And he picked it up and it turned into a rod again. Then you remember the second one, the Nile turned into blood. The third one was frogs covered the entire land. You remember gnats and flies swarmed. The fifth one was deadly plagues over Egypt animals. The sixth one was the hail that came and destroyed all of the crops. Then you remember the locusts. Ooh, that'd been rough. Locusts filled the whole land. And then remember darkness was everywhere. The ninth one, y'all remember the angel of death and the Egyptians' firstborn. You remember the series. The Hebrews walked out, chapter 14. Y'all remember reading this. The Hebrews walked out and God parted the Red Sea and they walked across on dry land and down in the army. Now think about this. All right, now let's just think about this. Why did an all-powerful, almighty God have to do 9 miracles to convince Pharaoh? Now think about this. God says, okay, I know what it'll do. I know what we'll do. Okay, Moses, you go in, throw down your rod, you turn a snake, you pick it up. Oh, no, God says it didn't work. Oh, no. Now what am I going to do? Oh, man, I gave it my best shot. Man, I don't know what we're going to do now, Jesus. Well, Holy Spirit says, well, try the Nile turn. Okay, I'll turn the Nile into blood. So God goes, whoom, turns the Nile into blood, and you know all, isn't that miracle? No, dang it. Shoot. Now what am I going to do? Well, one of the angels says, well, you may try some gnats, some frogs, or some... Okay, that's what I mean, think about this. Why didn't God just blow in there, wipe them all out, get the Hebrews, let's go, guys, y'all follow me. Out we go. I mean, really? An all-powerful... The battle could have gone either way. Oh, look. Boy, did the rod turn into a snake? Yes, it's in God's favor. Oh, no. Pharaoh denied him. Now Pharaoh's got the upper hand. Okay, then God threw another punch. And okay, God... Oh, no. Now Pharaoh... Now think about this. Why? It doesn't even make sense. Why did it take God these miracles to pull this off? Well, turn to Exodus chapter. We better look at this. We better think this through. Exodus chapter 14, verse 29. The people of Israel had walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground. The water stood up on both sides. That's how the Lord rescued Israel from the hand of the Egyptians that day. The Israelites saw the bodies of the Egyptians washed up on the seashore. The people of Israel saw the mighty power the Lord had unleashed against the Egyptians. They were filled with awe before him. They put their faith in the Lord, oh man. And then read on. Moses, the people of Israel sang this song. I will say... You're talking about a victory celebration. They're in the locker room giving the high fives now. I mean, they're jumping, they're singing. I'll sing to the Lord, he's triumphed gloriously, he's hurled. This would be a good song. I will sing unto him, for he's triumphed gloriously. He's hurled the horse and the rider into the sea. Lord is my strength, he's my song, he's given me victory. I mean, we are having a victory party. I mean, this right here is what God was doing. He didn't do that series of miracles for Pharaoh. He did that series of miracles for the Hebrews. He's building, hey, we hit 1 shot, we hit 3 shots. Hey, what's God doing? He's building momentum. He's building momentum. The Hebrews had 400 years of slavery. And to go out in that desert and to live out there and to live free, they were going to need power in them. They had to believe God would do anything for them. They had to walk in power to face whatever life was going to bring them. God created power in momentum, and he built momentum through a long series of miracles. God was clearly powerful enough to just go wipe Pharaoh out and lead the Hebrews out in 5 minutes. He could have done that. God didn't do the miracles for Pharaoh. He did the miracles for the Hebrews. Here's the problem. Look in chapter 15. Man, we're giving high fives. We're jumping up and down. We're beside ourselves. Verse 22, the same chapter. Chapter 15, verse 22, the same chapter as the victory party, verse 22. Moses led the people of Israel away from the Red Sea. They moved out in the desert. They traveled for not 300 years, 3 days. 3 days without finding any water. They came to the oasis in Marah. The water was too bitter to drink. Then they start complaining against Moses. What are we going to drink? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Look at chapter 16, verse 3. If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt. We sat around there, pots filled with meat. We ate all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us out into this wilderness to starve us to death. We're going... The Hebrews refused to capitalize on momentum. There's power in momentum. God's building momentum to get them ready to go out into the desert. And this is what I'm talking to you about. They refused to capitalize on the momentum that God had built in them to send them out. Let's go on to the next story, 1 Samuel. Another very familiar story, 1 Samuel chapter 17. Very historical event. You know the story of David and Goliath. David's brothers are out in battle. The dad sent David out to check on the brothers. He gets out there to find the giant, taunting the armies of God. David's going to fight this giant. King Saul stops him. You can't do this. You're just a boy. He's a warrior. You can't. Well, let's read this. Chapter 17, 1 Samuel, chapter 17, verse 32. Don't be ridiculous, Saul replied. There's no way you can fight this Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy. He's been a man of war since his youth. Verse 34, but David persisted. I've been taking care of my father's sheep and goats, he said. And when a lion or a bear comes to steal the lamb from the flock, I go after it with club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by its jaw and I club it to death. I've done this to both the lions and the bears. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. That's plural. It's more than just one lion. Lions come all the time. Bears come all the time. I just grab them by the hair and just beat them to death with a stick. I've done this to these lions and bears. I'm going to do it to this pagan Philistine too. Now, here's the point today. If you miss victories in your life, you miss what they could do for future victories in your life. You got to understand there's power in momentum. I just want to ask you a quick question. Think about this. Was David telling Saul about the lions and the bears? Or could it be David was telling David about the lions and the bears? Saul didn't need to know anything about the lions and the bears. He wasn't going to go out and fight this guy anyway. He didn't need to know anything about this. It's just an idea that I thought about. Whoa. You know who David is talking to. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't. David is telling David about the lions and the bears and jerking them up and banging them in the head with a stick. David is reliving a past victory in his life where God supernaturally showed out. This time, supernaturally showed out. That time, supernaturally seen me through this. And this next thing won't be anything more than what he's already done. Come on, you got to understand there's power in momentum. Think about it. Pharaoh in Egypt didn't need to see the rod turn to a serpent, the Nile to blood, the frogs. Pharaoh didn't need to see all that. He wasn't far away from taking a swim and never coming out of the water. So he wasn't going to benefit by all of that. He's about to be history here. God wasn't teaching Pharaoh anything. God was teaching the Hebrews something. What happened? God did all of that for the Hebrews so that when they got out in the desert and they found there was no water, they would say, there's no problem here. We remember the rod to the serpent. We remember the Nile to the blood. We remember the frogs. We remember the gnats. Hey, we don't have a problem here. Our God's going to see us. Oh, hey, we remember all. Let me tell you about, we remember this, and we remember that. We remember this. Hey, this ain't no big deal. That's what he planned on them saying. When they came out in the desert and found no food, what he planned on them saying was, hey, we remember the frogs, we remember the gnats, we remember the Nile, we remember the angel of death, we remember the sea parting. Here's what we remember. The fact we don't have any food, this ain't no big deal here. Here's what I'm asking you today. Whenever you go to work on a Monday morning at 8 o'clock and they come in and tell you the plant's been sold, you have no job today, you got another 10 minutes to pack your stuff and be moved out, you're out of a job. What is your reaction? Is it, hey, I don't have any problem here. Let me tell you about what God's done in my life. Let me tell you what God... When the doctor comes in and gives you a tough report, when a difficult thing happens in your life, when things happen during the day that blindside you, what is your reaction? Do you say, we don't have a problem here? We don't have a problem here because I remember this and I remember that and I remember this and I remember that. So are you reciting past victories and allowing the power that God created in momentum to work in your life? Saul didn't need to know about the lion and the bears. He wasn't going out there to face Goliath anyway. That didn't do anything inside him. He didn't need to know. David immediately began to tell David about the lion and about the bear and about the lions and about the bear. David wanted to hear those stories in his own head again as he was going out across there to face that giant. David knew the power of momentum. And he says, I'm going to benefit from the power of momentum in my life. I'm going to capitalize on past victories in my life. God has seen me through time and time again, and I'm going to benefit from what God has done in my life. Oh, church, all the past miracles that have happened in your life, do they mean anything to you today, or are they a distant, foggy, cloudy memory? How many of you have gone through some kind of a surgery and you remember being a little bit nervous the night before you went in there? How many of you remember? I'm a little nervous about that. Here you are today. Here you are today. Does that mean anything to you, or was that a distant past memory? You remember when a difficult time came? You remember a job loss? You remember a plant closing? You remember one of your number one customers that was a big account for you, and they went out of business and they went with another company, and you remember that hit. You're here today? You're here today? Does that mean anything in your life, or is that a distant, cloudy memory? You remember when your boyfriend broke up with you? It was devastating to you. Here you are today, a lot better off than you would have been with him. Does that mean anything to you today as you're facing what you're facing this next week? God does and has done so many things for us. He has seen us through things in our life that at that time we were really worried about. At that time we were wringing our hands about. At that time we had a knot in our stomach about. And here you are today. Is that a distant, foggy memory, or are you gaining the power there is for you to tap into in momentum in your own life? We all sit in the living room in our chairs, sipping our soda and getting our chip and dip, watching the ball game and watching them get a little momentum and then lose it and our team go to pot. We all watch that happen. But are we aware that that same thing is happening in our own life? Are we aware that the same created power of momentum that we're watching on TV is available and can be watched in our own life? Go to 1 Kings. It's kind of a long story. Read along with me. It's a long story, but it's just a good one. It's a real good one. I love some of the Old Testament prophets. These guys are tough guys now. I mean, there's not any tougher. 1 Kings, chapter 18. Let's look in chapter 18, verse 16. Obadiah goes in and tells Ahab that Elijah has come. Ahab goes out to meet Elijah. Elijah's the prophet. Ahab, the king goes out. Ahab sees him and he says, "Is it really you, you troublemaker of Israel?" Now, I'm telling you what, here's a real guy. Here's a real man right here. This supersedes any of my westerns. Prophet says, "I hadn't made any trouble for Israel," Elijah replied, "but you and your family. I mean, your mama wears army boots." He calls all of them. I mean, just you and your whole family here. Y'all are the troublemakers of Israel. You refused to obey the commandments of the Lord. You worshipped images of Baal. I'm telling you what we're going to do. Hey, let's just listen here. Summons all of it. Just get everybody in Israel. Join me up on Mount Carmel. Bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of the Azrael who are supported by Jezreel. Y'all get everybody and just come up on the mountain. Ahab summons all the people of Israel. Mount Carmel, I like to see a good fight. Let's go up here, boys. This is Saturday night at the fights right here. Let's all go up. Elijah stands in front of them. He's just going to draw a line in the sand. Let's divide up and let's get it going. How much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal is God, then let's follow him. People are completely silent. Elijah said to them, "I'm the only prophet of the Lord who is left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Now here's what we're going to do. Y'all bring 2 bulls. Prophets of Baal, you can choose. I'm not going to choose. You get whichever one you want and cut it into pieces. Lay it on the wood of their altar. Now don't set any fire to it. I'll prepare the other bull. I'll lay it on the wood of the altar, and I'm not going to set fire to it. Then we're going to call on the name of your God. I will call on the name of the Lord, and the God who answers by setting fire to the wood is the true God." Anybody got a lump in your throat if you were there? Let's just draw a line in the sand here. Here's the way we're going to do it. I love this. Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, "You guys just go first. There are a lot of you. Choose one of the bulls and just y'all get after it." So they prepared one of the bulls, placed it on the altar. They starts calling on the name of Baal from morning till noontime, shouting, "Oh, Baal, answer us." There's no reply of any kind. They danced. They hobbled around the altar they had made. Now I can just see it. Elijah has got to be sitting on a stump leaning against a tree right here. And he's got to pick up a long piece of brush and he's got it in his teeth, kind of sucking on this straw. He's sucking on the straw right here off of the ground. He's got a stick he's probably whittling. You can see him leaning up. About noontime, he'd been watching this all morning. Elijah starts mocking them. "Y'all need to shout a little louder. Surely he's God. I bet he's daydreaming. Maybe he's going to the bathroom. Maybe he's on a vacation. Maybe he's just sound asleep. Y'all got to wake him up." Oh boy, so they shouted louder. You just see Elijah. You can see this. They shouted louder. They followed their normal cut. They start cutting themselves with knives and swords. Blood's running out of their arms. They cutting themselves. They raved all afternoon till the time of the evening sacrifice. There's no sound. Then Elisha, he says, "Okay, that's enough. That's enough. With this going on all day, everybody over here." So they all crowd around him. He prepared the altar. 12 stones. Tribe of Israel used one of the stones, rebuilt the altar in the name of the Lord. I just love it. Then he digs a trench around the altar, large enough to hold 3 gallons of water. Then he piles wood on the altar, and he cut the bull in pieces, laid the piece on the wood. Then he says, "Hey, before I go any further, I tell you what, why don't y'all just fill 4 large jars of water and pour it all over the wood?" You ever tried to light wet wood? Let's just soak my wood in some water. After they had done this, I tell you what, just do the same thing again. They were finished. He said, "Go get some more water." A third time, and the water runs around the altar and it's filling the tree. His sacrifice is floating. Now he's got wood floating in the water that he's going to... At the usual time of the evening sacrifice, Elijah the prophet walks up the altar. "O Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, prove today that you're God in Israel, that I'm your servant. Prove that I have done all this at your command. O Lord, answer me, so these people will know you. O Lord, your God," and it brought them back. Immediately, the fire of the Lord flashed down from heaven, burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, the dust, licked the water out of the trench. All the people saw it. They fell face down on the ground and cried, "The Lord, He is God." I guess they did. Then Elijah commands, seize all the prophets of Baal, don't let one of them escape. So the people seize them all. Elijah just takes them down to the Kishon Valley, kills all of them. Just a normal day in the life of a prophet. I don't know what y'all did today, but this is what I had going on. Chapter 19, Ahab goes home. He tells his wife everything Elijah had done, the way he'd killed all the prophets of Baal. Oh, it was terrible. We lost. So Jezebel sends this message to Elijah. May the God strike me and kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you. Here's one woman. Now, we just killed 450 men. Now, here's one woman. And Elijah is afraid and flees for his life. Verse 9. He came to the cave where he spent the night. The Lord said to him, what in the Sam Hill are you doing here? Elijah, oh, God, I've been serving you. People of Israel broken their covenant with you. They've torn down their altars, and now they're going to try to kill me. You can just see God shaking his head. What are you doing hiding in this cave? Come on. What are you doing here? Elijah failed to capitalize on the power of momentum. Elijah failed to capitalize on the power of momentum in his life. God just performed the biggest miracle of a lifetime right out here on Mount Carmel, and the next day you're whining and crying and hiding in a cave, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. Is this relating to anybody today? God says, Elijah, come on. What is the matter with you? Church, momentum is to build confidence in your life. Momentum is to build strength in your life. There's always an opponent that's trying to kill your momentum. Back to you sports guys. If you watch sports and you see a team hit 3 or 4 points, or they hit 3 or 4 balls out, if the opposing coach is worth his salt, what's he going to do? Come on, help me. What's he going to do? Timeout. What's he going to do? He's going to call a timeout. Why is he going to call a timeout? There's only one reason he's calling a timeout. He's trying to do what? He's trying to kill their momentum. We got to stop their momentum. Church, there is an enemy that always wants to stop your momentum. There's always a stop to your momentum. The message today is you can't let an opponent stop your momentum. You can't allow an opponent to stop your momentum. There are too many of the Lord's people who stop after a victory instead of using that victory for the next victory in their battle. You spring off of that. Look at all that God has done here. Look at all that God has done here. Man, I'm charging full speed into the next victory. Do we have some problems? Yes. Do we have a slump? Yes. Am I facing some difficulties? Yes. But I can look back over at my life and I can see what God's doing. Catch you a seat and watch what's about to happen right here. See, you build off of momentum in your life. David was facing the challenge of his life. This giant today, some right here today, you may be facing a giant in your life. You may be facing something that's bigger than you. You may be facing something in your own life that's stronger than you. You may be facing something in your life that's more powerful than you are. And right now, you don't see any way you can make this happen. You don't see any way to change this. You don't see any way to turn this around. Right now, you don't see any good. You don't see anything going to happen. Right now, I don't see. Reach back in your life and remember a line. Reach back in your life and you remember a bear. Reach back in your life and you remember a surgery, a time, a difficult. Reach back in your life and remember a job loss. Reach back in your life and remember a problem. Reach back in your life and remember a crisis and say, I'm still here today. I am still here today. Remember the hours that you sat in church and heard sermon after sermon after sermon. Reach back and get a hold of the strength of all those sermons. Let me just tell you something. I just know boys. And David was a young boy out there tending those sheep all day, daylight to dark, by himself. And he didn't have no iPhone. He didn't have no games on his computer. He didn't have any games on his pad. He didn't have no game. The only thing he had was that slingshot. Now, I know boys, and I know boys that have a slingshot, and I know what boys with slingshots do. I want you to know when he swung that slingshot and threw that stone into Goliath's head, that wasn't the first time he had thrown that slingshot. Now, you think about it. There wasn't a squirrel within 20 miles of them sheep where David. There wasn't a rabbit that ever came through that didn't get some rocks chunked his way. I know, boys, that there's not a nut up in a tree that hadn't been fired at. There probably was. Where David was tending those sheep, I bet you there wasn't any leaves on the trees. He'd knocked every leaf out of that tree. If there was a knot, if there was a lump, if there was a rock, if there was a stump, that's what he did all day. That's what he did all day, every day. He swung that slingshot. He swung that slingshot. Later in life of David, it's very interesting. We won't take time to turn there. You ought to read this. In 1 Samuel chapter 21, David's running for his life. And he goes to a town of Nob. And he goes there to see Amalek the priest. And David needed a weapon. He didn't have a weapon. And he asked the priest, he runs, he said, do you have a spear or a sword that I could use? It's interesting, verse 9. The priest said, Amalek said, I only have the sword of Goliath when you killed him. It's wrapped up in a cloth. It's back there in a closet. Go back there and get that sword. My whole point today is we are empowered for future victories by past victories in our life. It's how God created us. It's how God created us to live. As a 4-year-old, we don't start them in the 3rd grade. It'd be overwhelming. But you go to pre-K, you go to K, you go to first, you go to second, and you're ready for the 3rd grade. We don't start our 6-year-olds in junior high. We start them in first and in second and third, and then they're empowered. They're ready to go into junior. You're ready to go into high school. See, you're ready for the next level in your life when you learn from, capitalize, and benefit from past victories in your life. As David is looking across that battlefield, staring at Goliath, who is very intimidating, very overwhelming, very overpowering, very loud, and as Saul is telling him, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, David's got to hear coming out of his mouth about a lion, about a bear, about countless times David's got to relive past victories. I can just see David reaching down and getting those 5 stones. Think about that. That stone had a feel to it. He had thrown a stone and that was too heavy. He had thrown a stone and that was too light. It didn't travel. He had thrown a stone and that was too jagged. It didn't take aim and it didn't. He had thrown a jillion stones and he looked at Goliath's head and he knew the exact size, the exact feel. He knew exactly. And he reached down, he picked up a stone, and that had a feel in his hand of how fast it would travel, how accurate that stone was. He had when he put it in his slingshot, he knew there was a feel right to the right place of that slingshot that he cocked that stone in. And when it started coming around his head and he was running, that wasn't his first rodeo. I'm just telling you, that wasn't his first day at the dance. That thing starts swinging around his head. He was drawing on a wealth of past experiences in his life. This victory wasn't just happenstance. This victory was a combination of all of the victories that had happened in his life. Church, you've got to draw on past victories in your life. What you're facing this next week, you're outsized by it. What you're facing in these coming days, in this next month, in this next year, it's overwhelming. It's too big. Let me just tell you, you go back in your life and you remember when God did this. You remember when God did that. You remember when God saw me through this time. Don't let your past victories be a distant, foggy memory in your life. God's brought you through all of those because there's power and momentum in your life. Today I want to ask, what's taunting you? Today, what right now is overpowering you? What is stealing joy from you? Today, what has you maybe in a little bit of fear? If you'll just remember the things God has seen you through already. And every one of us in here could pick up both hands. God's seen me through. I can remember some really low times in my life. I can remember some lonely times. I can remember some difficult times. Let me tell you, Tim, I can remember some very low points in my life. And here you are today. If you'll draw those back, like David drew that line, drew that story of that bear, don't let what God has done for you be a quick, distant memory. I want you to draw from them, church, because there is power in momentum. Y'all stand. God, today we're overwhelmed with how good you've been to us in our life. We're overwhelmed with your faithfulness to us. Lord, some of the hurtful things, some of the difficult moments that we sat through, the painful moments that we have gone through with family, with friends, with loved ones, difficult moments that we've gone through. And here we are today. Here we are today. God, we're grateful to you for seeing us through countless times in our life. Lord, today, those aren't just a foggy, distant memory to us. Lord, we draw on those things and allow them to empower us for what's facing ahead. Direct and guide us today, Lord, as we draw from the power that's in momentum. In Jesus' name, amen.
You have been listening to the CMC Podcast. For more information about CMC, our different conferences, Christian school, college internship, resources, and more, go to cmchurch.com.